In today's video, I will be hiding behind a dumpster and I will be going 75 kilometers an hour in a 45 limited electric car thing. Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to take a look at this, which you might already know it as a Citroes Amy. This is branded as an Opel just for the German market. Apparently Germans don't like driving French cars. Today we will take a look and see what this car is all about and if it's worth the price tag of 8,000 euros here in Europe, especially here in Germany. The purpose of this thing is an urban mobility vehicle for the small towns, small urban areas, wherever you can find a place to park or charge somewhere at a fast charging station. If you thought other manufacturers cut costs on building cars, someone like Korean manufacturers or even Ford or whatever, this thing is the pinnacle of cutting costs in production. I will show you what I mean in just a moment. So a few specifications about this thing. It weighs around 450 kilograms. The total length of this thing is 2 meters 41 and the total width of this is 1 meter 39. So not very big, but actually it's a little bit bigger than an original Mini, which I find more interesting. For some of you who know, the newer BMWs have a plaque right here on the B-pillar under the door which says CFRP, which stands for Carbon Fiber Reinforced Plastic. Now this thing, you can say it should have a PRP, which means for Plastic Reinforced Plastic. So it's basically built out of plastic. It's a tubular metal frame with a hard plastic shell. The paint is actually a rugged finish, so you don't scratch it so easy, but the stickers don't really stick to it too much. As you can see, in some parts they started to go away. First we start with the key. Well, actually keys. You have two keys. One of them is the key for the ignition. Has an Opel badge on it and mostly nothing else, just a plastic generic key. The other one is the key for the door, which actually looks like a key for a normal house door or something, also with an Opel badge on it. That's obviously, you do not have any central locking system, or not to mention keyless entry. So this is what you get with the Opel. Two keys, that's it. Okay, first thing, getting into this thing. You just press a button right here and you open the door. The door being very light, actually just plastic, nothing metal reinforced or anything, pure plastic. Now if I tell you that this car has more things in common with sports cars, even luxury cars, even supercars, I can say, you won't believe me, would you? But I'll show you what I mean actually. Take a look at this door, for example, right? You want to open the door. Doesn't it remind you like you push the button to open and the door opens, like a Rolls Royce? Like, what other car do you open this door other than a Rolls Royce? See? You enter the car, suicide door style. It must be a Rolls Royce Wraith or something, right? Cool, no? Now that you open the door, you can see that the hinging mechanism is not actually on the door, is on the chassis side, like here. This is where you actually close the door. And to open it from the inside, you have this loop. Just pull this loop and it opens the door. I'll tell you in a moment why that is built like this. Okay, moving on to this side. As you can see, this door and this side seems to be a little bit different than what you saw on that side, right? That's because this door opens normally. Obviously, not more than about 40 degrees or so. This is the maximum it can go, but it opens normally. Why is that, you ask? Because I told you in the beginning of the cutting costs of Opel or Citroen, whatever you want to call them. This is one part of that cutting costs situation, because they used the same door, same hinge and everything on both sides. So they didn't bother to build two doors separately for the left and for the right side. No, it's the same door but put on both sides. So obviously you got to open it the other way. Yeah, this is only the beginning of cutting costs. Wait for it. So what about if you want some fresh air in your car, EV, whatever? Well, this is the window situation you have right here. You have this latch, and then you push the latch, then you push the window, and it goes up like this. And this is your window for this thing. Like, look at it. It's a bit bigger than my hand. So good luck getting into drive-ins and ordering food through this thing. But remember when I mentioned about supercars and stuff? Guess what car has a window about the same size and only opens about this much? Maybe you thought of it. Lamborghini Countach actually has something just about like this. So it's very similar, isn't it? Now remember when I said it has a resemblance with the Rolls-Royce, with the suicide door and everything? Well, when you open the door in a Rolls-Royce, you can get out an umbrella, if you remember. In the door, or in case of the Wraith, in the chassis. Well, like in the Rolls-Royce, when you open the door, you can also get something out of the car chassis situation, but definitely not an umbrella. It's actually the power cord. This is the power cord for the normal European style charging port. And it's quite a long cord. I think you can actually pull the car with this thing, in case you need it. Now, because of the door situation, this one opening normally, the release for the door is not in front, like on the left side, but here, next to the passenger seat. This cord you actually pull to open the door. This thing comes equipped with 14-inch wheels wrapped in 185 rubber, so quite small wheels actually. Okay, moving on to the interior. As you can see, I actually fit inside. If I stay straight, I have decent headroom, like quite a lot of shoulder room, but other than that you cannot put much stuff inside, so not many grocery bags or stuff like that. So you cannot put much luggage in here. Basically anything you need strict for going around town, and that's about it, nothing more. Here in the back you have a bit of storage. You can put here a backpack or some small bags if you want, but only if you move the seats forward. And here on the back of the driver's side you have a plastic lid that if you open, you have access to the windshield washer fluid, so you can top it up here. In case you get in the car and you hold yourself like this and your hands are right here, don't worry if the door closes on your hands, because look, no danger. The seals are so weak that your fingers don't have a problem. You can see it as a safety feature, which is actually cutting costs. Now the seats are adjustable, but obviously not electric. You have here a lever which you pull, and the seats move forward or backward according to your needs. And also, like a supercar, you have these bucket seats, sport seats, with a rugged shell and the surface for your body, which is a little bit like a Porsche, for example, RS. Now, as you can see, the seats are quite sporty looking, but have to mention bucket seats in a different kind of way that you might think. I'll show you that in a minute. And also, like a Porsche RS, you have stripes to open the door, not a lever. Here you have the drive selector, D, N and R. This is everything for what you need to basically drive the car. Here you have the seat belts that come from the C-pillar, and they connect right here. Standard handbrake, normal, nothing electric. Steering wheel basically wrapped in plastic, nothing leather or synthetic leather or any sort of materials like that, just simple plastic. No buttons, no horn. The horn is actually located on the stock, on the left stock here. This is the horn. The stock situation is you have the horn here, and this rotating thing here has 3 positions: off, automatic and low frequency for the wipers, and obviously the turn signals up and down. But as you can see, no other stock, so you might think, how do you start the headlights, right? Well, you just put the ignition on and the headlights are on. That's because the headlights are always on. You cannot turn the headlights off. You also do not have a high beam, so just low beam, and that's it. No parking light, no high beam, just low beam, that's all you got. No on-off switch. You might ask what the stock does when you pull it towards you. Well, you have the washing for the windscreen. And here you have some buttons, which are actually the only buttons you can find in this car. The hazards, the ventilation, and heating windshield, which I never tried that thing. I have no idea if it works and how it works. What I do know is the ventilation, this thing, is just a fan that blows air from the outside. So, for example, you come in a winter morning, you get in the car, you want to defog the car because all the windows are foggy, you start the ventilation, and basically all the cold air from the outside is being pushed in the car. So not very fun, is it? If you look up top here, this is basically the chassis of the car, the steel bars on which the plastic shell is mounted on, and it goes all the way to the back. As you can see, the attention to details for the welding and stuff is second to none. Basically, these things, they're more useful as a handle to hold yourself when you're about to roll over in a turn or something. This is part of the standard package, and it's a phone holder, a magnetic phone holder. But as you can see, it's quite flimsy, and I don't actually know if it holds a phone or not. This is a grocery bag holder. You can actually put your grocery bag here and let it hang almost all the way down. As you can see on the doors, you have these mesh style pockets where you can fit like water bottles, papers, whatever else you might need. Now you can actually adjust the mirrors, and you can actually adjust them yourself. You don't need a passenger because the car is not that big. Here on the dash you have these things, plastic like cubbies or whatever you want to call them, which are actually removable. You can remove them to have maybe even more space. To some of the cars have them white, some of the cars with the Techno package and the yellow trim have these in yellow, greenish yellow. And here is actually one of these cubbies, this opening for the small Bluetooth speaker that comes with the car, with the Techno option if you go for that, which is a little bit more expensive. It's around 700 euros. Here you have the ventilation for the window. I think this is the window defogger, the one that this button actuates. When you put the ignition, first position of the key, you can see how many kilometers to empty, which is 52 in this case, and the total mileage of the car, 2,900 kilometers. If you put the second position, the neutral light comes on, and then you know if you're in neutral, backwards or front. You actually have a USB port right here for charging your phone. Nothing else. It doesn't connect to the car or something. But you do have My Opel app, which you can download, and then you can connect with the car and see the state of the battery, how much kilometers you have to go, and so on. Now, another feature you might notice on this thing is that the back, like the tail lights here and the turn signals there, actually look a little bit familiar, right? Yes, because it's basically the same panel in the back which you find in the front. Same thing. You can basically reverse them, just put the headlights here, and it's the same car. Same thing. The only thing differentiating the back from the front is this little lip spoiler, or however you want to call it, which comes all the way from the roof. It's part of the roof. As you can see, the front is basically the same as the back. Same panel, just with headlights, not with taillights. And if you look from the side, you see the resemblance between the front and the back, that they've used actually the same panels. So again, getting to those cutting cost situation. On the roof you do have a panoramic glass, which actually is very comforting since it's such a small car. You don't get very claustrophobic. You actually have a lot of visibility from the inside. Here in front, the wiper situation is one wiper, which actually wipes maybe 50% of the windshield. Maybe. But it's enough for driving and getting to see where you're going. At least you, not the passenger. Also, if you look here behind this plastic panel next to the wiper, you have the reservoir for the brake fluid right there. You can top up the fuel for your brakes. The mirrors do have adjustment, but obviously basic adjustment with your hand. Nothing electric, no lever inside, just open the window and adjust your mirrors. I did mention why I think it has bucket seats. Well, just take a look at the side profile. What do you see it resembles? It actually looks like a bucket. Actually, that's how we call it here, the electric bucket. Here you can see the door release, and then you just push the door open. And this is on the left side with the suicide door. This is the mechanism of the door which we talked about on the chassis of the car, because it's cheaper. If you put it on the door, you need cables to go all around through the door. Not very cost effective. Say for some reason you run out of battery with this thing. I don't know, winter, hill, any sort of situation like that. And I'll show you more about that later in the video. So how do you actually put the hazards with this thing, or how do you leave it parked? Well, like a bicycle, you can always use signals manually. Open the window, get your hand out, and you signal. But if you stop somewhere and you need the hazards, what do? Well, being such a small car, you open the other window and you put the hazards like on a bike, manually. So I told you about the cutting costs thing. Look at the door. Like, if you just pull a little bit, it's very flimsy. It just bends easily. So don't force it too much. Just, that's enough. Because if you actually pull, you put your hand here and you can actually pull the window, or basically break the window. As you can see here, you can just pull the window a little bit and it can actually break if you pull harder. Which brings me to another issue. If you want to wash it, don't wash it with a powerful water jet too close, because this seal here is not very strong. It's quite flimsy and the water does actually get in. But luckily it doesn't have any electronics to break or something. Now, I did not mention that this is basically limited to 45 kilometers an hour, and they say it goes up to 75 kilometers of range, which, trust me, is not the case. If it's winter, for example, or if you have a slight hill, not more than a few percent, it does not go more than 35, and the range drops dramatically. The range during the winter was, on a full charge, was somewhere around 60 kilometers, and that was optimistic, let's just say. And if you think about it, when you go on a hill, it just drops considerably again, and you do not go very fast either. And that's only one person inside, not two. So with that said, let's go for a test drive, see how this thing behaves, and see if we can have some fun with it. What can you do with 8 horsepower or 6 kilowatts? We shall see. I have a few things in mind, but keep watching and we'll see what we can do. So we've done some improvements to the car. Since you cannot drift because it doesn't have enough horsepower, we made some slight modifications. Let's see how our little modification actually works. Can you drift the Opel Rocks? As I told you before, this is limited to 45 kilometers an hour. But now I will try to see if I can get over 45 kilometers an hour with a trick. Okay, this is an attempt to more than 45 kilometers an hour, hopefully. Let's see what we can do. It's limit 70 limit here, so now it's already 46, a little bit more than its highest output, and we're going there. 48, come on, you can do it. 50, 51. And I'm actually curious how much can it go. It's already getting sketchy at this speed with such a thing, but yeah, wish me luck. Managed to get to the speed limit. That's a real achievement today in such a tiny thing, which is not meant for this kind of speeds, obviously. Normally the engine will try and stop you and brake. It doesn't regen, but it just brakes you, brakes the car. But not today, not this time. So after our off-road test, the car is a bit full of mud, as you can see. Yeah, kind of dirty, but not a problem. It's gonna be washed later, a little bit later. So I guess it's quite okay for off-roading, considering it's being classified as an electric quad, off-road quad actually. And they even built an off-road version of this thing called the Citroen Amy version with an off-road specification. So with a little bit bigger wheels and sort of looks like a buggy. So this is technically an off-road cycle, electric quadcycle. This time we're gonna have a drag race between this electric car and that drone. So let's see how that works. Drone is up. And you can see the drone there. And let's see who's faster from 0 to, well, 45. So 3, 2, 1, go! Damn, the drone is way ahead. Look at the drone go! And I'm flat out. It's completely flat. So I guess the car is not fast enough. A DJI Mini 2 is much faster than this Opel Rocks. Okay, so next time, second run, from a rollout about 10 kilometers an hour and see which one is faster. Drone is right there, so let's go to 10 kilometers an hour. 3. Okay, this is 10. Drone is right there, and wait for it. 3, 2, 1, go! Yeah, definitely drone is faster. And it's still gaining on me. And now it's right above. Same speed, I'm flat, 45. Okay, so I just ran out of battery in the Opel. So what do you do when you're out of battery and a little bit further away from the first charging station? Well, you improvise. So let's improvise, see what we have in the car. This is where I am, and somewhere there should be a charging station. It charges on a normal European style charge port, so any house with an outlet should do. And there at the end of the forest there are some farms, presuming they have charging port. I have to get the car there, so let's see what we have in the car. Okay, I think I have in the car some hinges like these. This might be very useful. Let's see what we can do. I guess the only solution would be this. Pull it all the way to the first charging port. So yeah, come on, let's go. Yep, it worked. Not easy, but worked. Overall, let's see what this car is actually useful for and how it behaves in the city and how can you get the most out of the price that it costs. Yeah, cancelling turn signals. Okay, this is how it performs on an uphill, and the incline is about 10% maybe. I am flat out right now and it's 26. So yeah, this is maximum it will go. So 27, 28 at about 10 degrees Celsius. So not very cold, but still 28 to get a small hill. Not very efficient, is it? a U-turn here. Actually, it has a really good turning radius. Like, this is lock, and as you can see, in a tight spot like this, it just turns. Yeah, another annoying thing, the signal doesn't cancel itself. You have to cancel it manually. Yeah. Looks like we found something even smaller than this Opel. That thing. It's actually much smaller. Summing up about this car, I think in the end, even though we made some fun of it, it's actually a good car for the city. Like, think about if you live in a small city or even a bigger city, as long as it's not more than 60 kilometers for your round trip during the day. But 75 kilometers, which is the range of the car, what they say it goes. Of course, it doesn't go only in the best circumstances, like best temperature, the roads have to be completely flat and so on. But anyway, 50 kilometers you can do easily with it, probably even if it's winter. So 50 kilometers in the city with this thing, I think it's just perfect for that. You can go anywhere basically. You can find parking spaces almost anywhere, even on the sidewalk if you don't get caught or if you're permitted. And yeah, it's overall it's a good city car. It doesn't rain on you. It's not very warm in the winter, but yeah, it's not expensive, so what do you want? And the second thing I think it's quite good for the city is use it as an advertising platform. Like, use it, put some, if you have a company or anything you want to advertise, just put it on the car, stickers and everything, and people will notice. People notice this car anywhere I go. Like, even if I park it somewhere, people are curious what this thing is, and they just get around, take photos. Quite impressive. So you get a lot of attention, and attention you can use for advertising. So like my friend did with this car, you just put advertising on it, your company, and you will get a lot of publicity done basically for free for the electric. So yeah, that's summing up the car. So to wrap it up here, I think this car is actually worth 8,000 euros or 8,700 if you go for the Techno package, because you can use it first of all only in the city. That's the best possible usage for this thing, and you can use it while being young and for students or stuff like that. And for an average teen, this as a first car in the city, in a crowded city, is not so bad actually. And I think it's also useful if you have a company like my friend with Fahrradshop here. He uses it mostly as a mobile advertising platform, as you can see. And it's also good for people that don't need a lot of power and they don't have long distances to make. They just move around town, go from point A to point B in a quite small city. I don't recommend anything like Stuttgart, where we are located right now, because it's very three-dimensional, let's say, a lot of hills and so on, and with this kind of range and power it doesn't go very fast or very far. But in a more flat city like in Holland, for example, where they have just a few hills, this should be quite interesting to drive around. So overall I think it's worth it, and if you manage or get a leasing or something, why not go for something like this other than a combustion engine for the city and for normal use and occasional commuting. It's quite rugged, not many parts to break down, so I think it's okay. So if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe, give a like and hit the notification bell so you can get notified with upcoming videos and reviews of cars like this, and of course much better and much more interesting. So with that said, drive safe and see you in the next video. Ciao!